Happy Monday, Amera First, and good morning to Ameritrust on the West Coast where Mr. Garber is, and buenos dias, Ameriuno. So we had such a great momentum Monday. We're going to piggyback on that, so we've got a couple LOs, we've got a couple of their realtor partners and friends that are going to join us. We're going to go through some of that. But first, I want to show you who we're bringing in, and that's Nick Long and Chris Hardiman. You've heard those names before, but let's just look at the 2021 statistics here. Over on the right-hand side of the Southeast, Southwest consumer regions, we've got Nick Long at $90+ million and Chris Hardiman at just about $60 million. So you're going to be hearing from $150 million worth of volume here in the next 30 minutes. It's going to be real impactful, real powerful, and I don't want to waste any more minutes on that. Garber, what's going on today?
Well, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So we normally have a Momentum Monday, but I would actually call this one Mindset Monday, right? So here's what I would really like. This whole thing is about how you think. And I was telling everybody a story really quick. I remember sitting in the back row of some convention, looking at all those guys, those number 1 through number 10, sitting up there going like, you know what? They're not like me. I can't be like them. You know, I don't get it. They don't get it. Whatever the thing is that I was thinking. And then as I was looking at a Chris or Nick, and you know, and this one, here's what I would tell you as we go into this one. The guys, gals that are great at the top of the leaderboard that you know that you just saw. They're up there for a reason, and what you will hear today is the reason that they are up there and what they actually have done to be up there. And it started with the right activities, right people, the right tenacity, all the things. And so anybody can be up there if you do the kind of things that you'll hear today from a Nick and from a Chris. And I know the only person that I can think of that this may bother today is Brian Maddox, right? Who's going to go like, geez, I'm going to do a few more of these right things because you know what, I can. So Brian, I know you're listening out there, so pay attention today. Here we go. So let's bring on, I think everybody, bring on Nick and Chris and Emily, and let's just get started with this. There we go. We got everybody. So here's, you know, again, let me preempt this. Anybody that didn't watch last week's Momentum Monday, you need to watch it. And this one will be as good as last week. So let me have, you know, Nick and Chris, why don't you introduce your guests and then we will get started because pretty much everybody knows you guys. So go ahead and introduce each of your guests and then we'll get going.
Nick, you're number 1, so you get to go first.
There he goes.
Sure. Well, yeah, I brought along
now.
Emily Armstrong. She's with Keller Williams at the Parks, which is downtown Orlando area. And Emily and I have been working together since 2014 was the time frame. So when we started. So
well, you got more of a story than that. So tell people you did her personal deal. And just go a little further in that. It's actually a good story. So keep going.
Yeah. So one of the people that I went after business when I first started was someone who did a lot of REO properties, and because Prospect at the time did so many 2 or 3Ks, I went after him. And he ended up giving me a buyer one day by the name of Emily Armstrong to pre-approve. And we, I think, structured it as like a second home or a primary or something like that. She was living in Las Vegas at the time and relocating to Orlando. And so she said, hey, you know, I'm going to be doing real estate in Orlando. So, you know, I'll make sure, you know, to hit you up whenever I move to Orlando. You know, this transaction's been so smooth and great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, yeah, sure you will. Sure you're going to hit me up. Got it. And sure enough, when she moved here, she did call me and we started working together from there. So, yeah, she's grown substantially ever since she became a real estate agent in Orlando, and she's, you know, gone to a couple big teams and has brought me along as well, you know, to there. So, you know, we've kind of just grown together that way.
All right. So Emily, you can tell your side of the story in a second here. So, okay. So go ahead. Chris, go ahead and you can introduce the other Emily, which is not easy. I got Emily and Emily, so we're not going to get confused. Go ahead.
No, it can get a little confusing. Yeah, so this is Emily Smith, who is COO of Weimer Group Realty. Emily and I have known each other longer than we have been working together, which kind of plays to that story about persistence. But we have been officially working together since really March 2020, right? Just at the beginning of the pandemic kind of was when we really sort of formalized the relationship and began the working relationship between AmeriFirst and Weimer Group Realty. And prior to that, Emily was, COO. While it's a wonderful title, almost doesn't speak to the volumes of the world she controls and drives over there at Weimer. So she was amongst the agents, the ones who I really needed to impress and get the buy-in from before I really got a chance to step in and continue to deliver there. So that's Emily.
There you go. Not a bad promo. All right. So my pick, but I'm gonna let's go with Emily Smith first. And this is a really good story. We haven't ever talked about the incredible value, right, of a gatekeeper, right? And so, I, for myself, know the value because I had one, but, God bless everybody that sits in front of the company and says, yeah, I don't think so, until you can prove the reason that I will allow the gate to open just a little bit, and I'm not opening the full gate, right? So then, so Emily, talk about your incredible responsibility, right, to the broker owner, the broker manager, the company at whole. How do you take your job so seriously to protect? And then secondly, is what do you look for when you look at the affiliates or partner that you'll actually open the door and actually listen to? So go ahead and kind of start to share.
Those are great questions to set that up, Ron. So as someone in my seat needs to take that job seriously. That is a huge piece of caring about the culture of your company. And so for us, it's not about just letting anyone that's capable or willing to say, hey, we'll throw as much money as we can to get in the door, or we're willing to bring donuts everywhere, whatever the bait is for the week, right? It's not about that. For us, it's about real relationships with competent, amazing professionals who are going to do the absolute best job, not just for our agents, but for our clients and for our other vendor partners too. So we want fantastic participants all around that are going to show up in a way that's going to best represent who we are. Our reputation is number one to us. It's the most important thing to us. So when I'm watching as the gatekeeper for opportunity, I'm watching first behind the scenes to even ask, do we have opportunity available? Is there space in our organization to bring in another vendor partner or bring in another player because the agents need additional support or need additional tools or an additional personality in the mix, or are we at a lack? Secondly, have we built anybody else already on the bench that we're watching for that spot? And so to me, it's all about building relationships over a long period of time to be able to gauge that level of, again, professionalism and, doing their part. Are they who they say they are? Do they have the systems in place to back up what they're promising in those emails or in those phone calls? Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, Chris Hardiman is an impressive guy out of the gate. He's well-spoken. I'm going to just, all the accolades, Chris, but well-spoken, he's polished. He knows what he's talking about. So when you meet Chris, you know that pretty quickly. You're able to deduce that pretty quickly. So having that polished professional manner from the start was number one, what grabbed my attention. Number two, with Chris in particular, it was the fact that I gave Chris the same script I give almost every other vendor that sticks their head in the door on the first time. But Chris did something that not every vendor does, which is
what's the script? So give us the script first.
So the script is, thank you so much for reaching out, and we're honored that you would want to partner with our team. We have some amazing vendor partners that we are already in relationship with, and unfortunately, right now, we don't have space. So I'm really sorry to tell, I can't just let you come bring breakfast. I can't let you come teach a class. I can't let you do the things, because we're very protective of the partnerships that we already have in place. And we mean it, we are.
But
And I
you're
think
watching.
that's huge.
You're watching. You may say that, but then you're watching to see what it is. The
Yes.
one thing, it was funny. The one thing that Jenny said last week, right, is Chris. You know, she said it in a kinder way, but what she really said is the pain in the neck wouldn't go away. He just kept hammering and hammering, and he was driving us nuts. And it got to the point we're going like, God, let the guy in. He's just a pest, and we just having trouble keeping him out. So how important is like just tenacity? Just keep.
Tenacity is everything, but tenacity in having a smart playbook is even better. So I said to Chris on that first call, the only way to get your foot in the door here at Weimer Group Realty is to create a relationship with the agents. Don't go after the top agents. And I gave Chris a couple of names, and I'll be honest with you, I gave Chris the hardest agent to impress on my team.
Wow.
Knowing that would be a true test, because what I saw in that professionalism and in that excellence piece that Chris was demonstrating, I wanted to see if that was true. I wanted to see if he could live up to what I felt like I was feeling from him. And so I gave him the name of a couple of agents and said, the way to get your foot in the door is to create a deal and offer that opportunity to them. So you're offering them something, and then they have the ability to see you work up close. And then it's your job to, offer the best version of what you offer in your world to them, and let that experience speak for itself. Let those agents really enjoy that experience. Let them build the relationship with you authentically and naturally. And then they will begin to sing your praises behind the scenes on the team. And it takes a lot longer, but that is how the door gets opened. And it's the only way the door gets opened on our team.
You know what? If no other piece, right, of another opportunity to perform at a high level, everybody needs to listen to every single word that Emily said, because she cares. And if it didn't work out, right? If it didn't work out, yeah, that face. If it didn't work out, thanks for coming, thanks for playing. You know what? You didn't make it. You just didn't make it. And it's not a bad thing. You're just that protective. And when it comes right down to, you hear a lot of times, here's a checkbook, here's a big bunch of money. And I'm not saying sometimes it doesn't work, but the purists of organizations that are building a real company, it's not a dollar, it's a who's going to give value to give us more transactions with more agents, recruiting, retention. I mean, this is somebody who runs a real business, with an Emily Smith and a Jenny. So thank you for that. So, all right, let's pop over to Emily. So finish a little bit of the story, which is actually a really good story, that he didn't believe you'd actually call him when you got over to Florida. But, talk a little bit about the fact that, you've been involved with teams, right? You've been with organizations that had, a rainmaker with folks, in it. So you have some knowledge, not only, with where you are Remix, but you, like Emily's talking about, what you understand, same way that she talked about. What is it that you think, right? A top affiliate, it doesn't matter whether it's actually lending or title or anybody, needs to prove within a team structure to get the opportunity to play. And Nick is an example. So just go ahead and take it from that place.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So like Nick said, I came out to Orlando and I did individual sales. So I was a single agent for a little while. I did run a team out in Las Vegas, so I had the knowledge and background in what teams were. And then I had partnered up with a guy locally, and we were building a team together. And honestly, for me, with any of my affiliates, it's trust. I mean, I have to feel confident that you know what you're talking about, and I have to trust you with my people. Me specifically as an agent, I guess the best way to equate it is that I'm like a mama bear, and my clients are my little cubs, and I coddle them and I take good care of them. And so I want to make sure that they're in great hands when I hand them over to my partner. And that's exactly how I feel about Nick. I never have to stress. I don't even have to be on the phone with them. I can hand it off, and I know that he's going to take them to the finish line and take good care of them. And bringing that into a team, you want that for everybody on your team. You want everybody to have that same experience.
So for both of you, this is like a kind of an all play, right? So, one of the things that everybody, senior leadership, talk about is the greatest way to grow a business, right? Is through referrals, right? And the greatest referral you could ever have is through somebody who is a team member, part of a team, or part of that corporate entity that is that gatekeeper. So talk about, how does somebody, and again, forget Nick and forget Chris for a second, you got any other, loan officer on the call, right, that is not in the top 10. So what would you suggest that the agent, hardworking, cares about their business? What opportunity do they have, and what would you suggest for a lot of folks? And we have a ton on the call today. What would you suggest for the folks that are working hard and trying to move forward and grow a business? Each
I
one.
think it goes into what Emily said. It's persistence. One of my favorite stories is about Hardiman, because he came to Orlando and started calling through the list of agents, just out of Aura or wherever he got the list. And so he called me trying to solicit business, and he said, "Hey, can I take you to lunch?" So it's an ongoing joke between us, but I constantly, mess with Nick and say, "Hey, Hardiman called and said he was going to take me to lunch. So if you mess up those loans, I might have to move my business over."
There you go.
That's a testimony to how your company operates, how you guys operate, is the fact that he picked up the phone and just started calling and just made that relationship. And, obviously I'm Nick's girl. I'm not moving, but I can appreciate that. And I know that that persistence is key.
You were the only agent I wasn't ever persistent with.
No,
You
you're not.
started cold calling in the A's, and you quickly told me that Nick was your guy.
Chris, you lost. Just live with it. You lost. It's clear. So Emily, go ahead and take a crack at it.
I think this is practical. So in my world, our $20 and $30 million producers are busy, and they're tied already very tightly to their partners for the most part. I'm not saying you can't crack it eventually, but in the beginning, they're very tied. So looking for and being strategic about building relationships with that $5 to $10 million producer is a really strong way to try to get out of the gate. It's somebody, I love Lisa's question in the chat, and I think I can answer that from my side. Lisa asked like how Chris may have overcome the anxiety of me saying to him like, "Hey, here are a couple of agents, you should give them a lead." I know that's got to be scary for you guys because you've worked hard to generate that lead for yourself. But for me, I have confidence in my own teammates that no matter who Chris hands it to, our side is going to be handled well. So the anxiety on my end wasn't high to hand it. Now, Chris may have a different story on that being on the other side of that. But that $5 to $10 million producer, I wouldn't necessarily be afraid to give a referral to those guys. They understand the business. They've run enough transactions. They're moving enough that would be the type of agent I would really try to focus on spending your time on. On a team, I would be asking questions like, do the agents on your team have to work with preferred vendors? Do I have the ability to create relationships with people on your team that are outside of some kind of team demand? Some teams allow, some teams don't. And so that's maybe a first question I would ask someone in my seat, like, "Hey, I want to go about this the right way, but let me ask you this question first. Like, do you have preferred vendors that you're already really tightly tied to? If you do, I would ask that second question of, even though you have those, are your teammates tied, only to those guys, or am I allowed to begin to build relationships with your teammates?"
You know what? It's that's really beautiful. Here's a mindset one, right? Interest rates are going up this year, right? There's no question that we got interest rates going up. And the mindset thing again, oh my God, interest rates going up, sky is falling, less deals, less transactions. Oh my God. So when both of you did your business plans, and that interest rates are going up, and did that affect how you think 2022 is going to do for your company? Or you're shaking your head no. So you still think you're going to do okay this year?
I think we are. I think we always joke it's a great time to buy or sell. It's mindset. And so it's consumer perspective. And for us, it's about teaching our agents. And this is something that those of you that work in the world that you do can help teach agents. And that is the languaging around the fact that it really is truly always a good time to buy or sell. It's how you look at it. So it's providing perspective and providing a different version than the sky is falling, the interest rates are changing. hey, let's actually look at what this looks like on paper. This $500,000 house at this rate versus the, and just showing it to folks and coming at it from a couple of different ways, because agents, from what I found in my world, come from all kinds of career paths. And you never know if you're working with someone who is great with numbers or who is not great with numbers, who is trying to advise folks on this huge financial investment. And so the more that you can do to educate your agent partners that the sky is not falling and that there are positive ways to look at this, the better job that they can do to provide consumer confidence in the messaging they're putting out in their own marketing or on their social media feeds, which generates those leads, which benefit both your world and ours.
100%. So Emily, is your business going to go down this year?
No,
Not
No. The Emily Armstrong, take a crack at this one too. Your business is still going to keep. Where are you? You look freezing, and I don't know where you're at, but you look cold. Emily, Geez, you look freezing. Anyway, go ahead and ask that question. Is your business going to go up this year?
up. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, irrespective. And so you're still good with what you're going to do to do more business this year than you did last year?
Yes, definitely. And one of the things, as Emily was talking, that I kind of thought of that would be helpful for loan officers is I don't know, everybody's market is different, but I'm assuming a lot of them are somewhat similar to ours. But like right now, huge inventory issue. So, I have a listing where I got 10 offers today, but I feel like not one of them has a lender called me to tell me about their buyer and the security of that buyer. And that would be a great opportunity to really, step it up and show you're different than the other lenders out there by representing your client to the listing agent.
That's a great one. So anyway, we got 5 questions. So I'm going to have Craig. Other than Chris, I hope you're going to do more business, because if not, then you're not going to catch Nick. So I hope Chris, I hope you do more business this year, because you got to catch Nick. So with that, Craig, you got a ton of questions. So what do you got? And you want to bring anybody else?
Yeah. It's a great battle that I'm in the office to get a chance to see Nick and Chris all the time, every day, every week. It's a great battle. So a couple questions here from Anonymous. There's what are the 2 or 3 things that Nick and Chris do to keep you happy and the relationship growing? Emily, either Emily.
Well, with Nick, we've just built such a great relationship. And so he does a really good job at communication. So that, to me, that's super important. I can call him at 11 o'clock at night and he will answer the phone. There's times he answers his phone that I'm like, geez, take some time to yourself. So I think that number one is the best. He makes me feel like I'm a priority, and that's huge. He's always there to support me. And I really, truly feel like he's my biggest cheerleader. And so to have that in a relationship, I couldn't ask for that with anybody else. That's what makes him my person.
So for us, it's similar. There was a picture passed around this week on my team of Chris at the dentist, that Chris was taking calls at the dentist this week that stuff goes miles, right? So if the team has back channel communication and they're passing pictures around of our partner at the dentist and he's still taking phone, that just goes a long way in team feelings, if you will, towards Chris. But Chris is super.
I was texting. I had utensils in my mouth, so I was getting.
Yes, for sure. But it's more than just communication. So an agent wants to know that you are going to answer the phone, that they are going to get you. So I don't care if Chris has 25 people working on the loan underneath of him that I can't see as an agent, or as for me, my agent partners. They want Chris. They want the confidence that their clients are going to be talking to Chris. They want the confidence that when they call, Chris is going to have the answer for them. So Chris, to me, shows respect to our business when he builds great systems that I don't have to see, that are running underneath and keeping everything that Chris is doing looking like it's humming, so that Chris can answer the phone and be available and answer those questions at a high level, since he's the one that the team has the relationship with and or thinks has the knowledge. Now, what I love about Chris is that I know if Chris doesn't know the answer, he's going to go do all the resource or call behind the scenes and get that answer before he calls somebody. So using his resources smartly to make sure that the team feels like they can keep him in that communication seat has been really, really big for us. The other thing is that I have watched Chris be able to say, I can't do that, but let's get that over to somebody that can. We always joke, when the underwriter sees something that they can't unsee, We just want partners that believe in abundance and that go, you know what, there is so much more out there to go get. Like, I've got to figure out how to get Chris 30 more million to go get neck and neck with Nick, is what I'm over here thinking. But
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But there's so much more for Chris, there's so much more for Nick, and there's so much more for every person on this call to go get in their own market. So if that's true, if something doesn't work and an underwriter can't unsee something, let's get that off to somebody who can get that done for the sake of doing the right thing for the client every time. And I watch Chris do that many, many times.
That's the ultimate definition of trust of a loan officer. She just defined what trust of a loan officer is. Great. Go ahead, Craig, you got another one?
Yeah. Chance has certainly got some things he wants to go after and already loves this call so far. But he also asks, what about asking for the producing agents, preferred lenders turndowns to see if there's a way to bring some of those back to life? So Emily Smith, kind of a little bit of a piggyback of what you talked about, but maybe thinking back before you had your relationships that you guys both have in place. What about those turndown deals? And is that something that a new guy could go after?
I think it's something unique. It's not something most folks approach my seat with to say, hey, is this an opportunity for me to take a look at this? And is there an opportunity there for somebody else in a seat? I think that especially works if you know all of your outlier products really, really well. So the things that are not in the box, the things that, and if you can figure out like, what are those things that are failing? What are those things that are falling through? I've got products that can fix that, or I've got solutions for that. I think that would go a long way to, again, building that trust piece with somebody in my seat and or an agent that's had a lot of that. I have a hard time believing that a lot of folks would give you that info right up front. I'm so sorry. Working from home life, it's real life, right?
That's it. All
right, we'll let Emily Armstrong finish this one, I think.
No, I mean, I agree with her on that. So we actually, on our team, we had people approach us with that. And we have a very specific product we had a very specific product that was with builders. And so there were certain things, and we did have lenders approach us and ask for that. And so absolutely, I think that's a great way to approach agents for business.
Awesome. All right, Anonymous asks, if you don't have a referral to give at that time, is a lunch meeting a waste of time and essentially a free lunch? Or do mortgage 101s actually work? Again, thinking back pre long-term relationship with Nick and Chris, and what is the best way to make an impression and best use of time for both parties to start a relationship?
I think, at least for me personally, you don't necessarily have to go to an expensive lunch. It could be just a cup of coffee or just meeting up, or you meet at a networking event or something, but it's not approaching with the hard sell of using you as their lender right away. I mean, it's just building off of the relationship and letting that person get to know who you are as a person. And then over, a period of time, you really start to build the trust. And that's when you start asking for the business.
I think I'd agree with Emily. You may consider going to an office and asking about what their education opportunities are to try to get in front of a group of newer agents all in one shot if you want to do a mortgage 101. Chris actually teaches every once in a while in our office for folks that are coming in that are newer. And I try not to make Chris do that like one-to-one, because that's a lot of energy and time from Chris to invest in one relationship that agent, it's going to take a while for them to build up their business, anyway. But if you can say, hey, let's invest in 4 or 5 people at one time, then you have a better shot of building a relationship with someone that eventually is going to maybe move into that more producer type of status. And so I would always think like, what am I getting out of this for my time? And so not everything is dollar producing. Not everything is going to be one-to-one. Like, that's just the nature of the business that we're all in. But if you can figure out how to get in front of a few people at a time. So an office that doesn't offer a lot of educational opportunities, maybe the kind of office you might want to chase down. Because I can tell you even for us, it's exhausting to try to create those things constantly for your agents. And so you're at that point providing value and support, rather than for the offices where they maybe have a training program that runs every 10 to 14 days. They've got that on lock. They've got it figured out. So hunt down the smaller, maybe independent brokerages or brokerages that you just know in your market maybe don't run regular classes, and see if there's an opportunity there to plug in and create something to be in front of more people at one time with the knowledge that you have.
Emily, let me ask you a question. This is a script. So,
Ron, I actually wanted to answer that as well too, and I
oh,
didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
off.
Go ahead. I'll ask next. Go ahead.
Okay, because it was interesting because the first part of Anonymous's question was, what do I do if I don't have a lead to hand off? Because when I first got tasked with, hey, bring in a lead to one of the agents, I didn't have a lead to hand off either. So I would say to whoever wrote that, it's not that you don't have a lead, it's that you're not thinking about all the leads that you actually have. Because I was forced with, oh my God, how do I actually create a lead to hand off to an agent? We're loan officers, we get leads from realtors. So I had to really think about that.
Yeah.
And what I actually did, because there's more than one lead you can hand off, right? I mean, I went to Emily and I asked Emily, who is your strongest listing agent? And she gave me that name. But the beautiful thing about the way it works at Wemert is the listing agents have agents underneath them that are working their buyers. So I know if I impress one, I impress others. And I went and I literally scrubbed my entire sphere of influence database, family, friends, everything. And I found out people that I knew that were planning on selling. And I knew they trusted me. I knew I could trust that lead I knew they were going to be served well if they went with Wemert. And I basically went to these friends and family and I said, listen, I know you're thinking about selling. I just need you to take a meeting. I'm not asking you to use this individual. I just need you to give them a shot, let them come in and give you their pitch for listing your property. And I did that to anyone and everyone within my personal database who knew me. And I gave those leads to Corey. I also called every single lead source that I could pay for out of my own pocket to try and get crap online leads. And I called those leads and I scrubbed those leads and I tried to find a diamond in the rough for the first buyer lead, which I gave to Britt. So it's not that you don't have the leads available to you. And I actually still use that lead source today. And now I give them to my younger LOs to scrub, but you haven't thought about your business and how your business can actually generate leads to give to realtors.
That's good. That's a great one. That's a great one. Emily Smith, I was going to just ask you, if I said to you, Emily, do you know your agents well enough? If I said to you, who are the 3 or 4 rising stars, right, that you know today, right, who are those young folks that you just know are going to be great in the future? Kind of to what you said about that mill pack. Do you know the names? Could you speak the names right now of who those folks are?
I could.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't have to give me the names, but the fact is, you know the names, you know the ones, you watch these people in your office. And if somebody said to you, who are the folks that maybe are not the big ones, you actually even know who they are and you want them to be successful.
I do. But the next question, if the person you're talking to says, I don't, say, well, then who in your office can I talk to that could identify those people for me?
There you go.
And it's the same thing you do when you're qualifying someone for a loan, right? It's going deeper. So it's just ask the next question, ask the next question, ask the next question. And that works for so many applications.
That's good. So Nick, have you generated more business and more relationships because Emily Armstrong has been a great partner that you thought would never call you? Have you generated, not only did she call you, but has that expanded and grown, right, from not only the relationship, but the trust that you've got between the two of you? Have you gotten more relationships, more people? You know, what has grown from how you guys started years ago?
Well, I mean, yes, we've grown tremendously, and she had joined one of the teams that I'm actually still working with. She ended up leaving them, but I always joke around and say that, like, the team that she did leave has a lot of agent turnover, and so whenever an agent would leave the team, I would always still continue to solicit that real estate agent after the fact and continue to, like, make sure that they know that I'm not just that particular team's lender. I'd be more happy to still continue on my relationship, with that individual as well. So, that's helped out a lot. But Emily is now growing and doing her own team. So, and that is new. She's finally taking the jump and creating her own team so she can be the one who dictates where everything goes and the way the direction of the team goes. And so I'm very, very excited for her and where that's going to take our relationship. But more importantly, I think she's going to crush it. So I've just been waiting, going on like 2 years for her to do this. So I'm glad she finally made the jump.
That's really good. Hey, so Craig, I told you I was going to go over, and I knew that I would. So you got Dave, and you got Ron, and you got more questions. So I want to make sure that if Dave's got something he wants to add, or Ron Burgum, or Doug, anybody, want to make sure that the leadership has a chance to say if they'd like to, and so any
Yes,
of the, yeah, go ahead.
You did go off. I'm gonna let those guys jump in. One last question from the audience,
Go ahead.
Emily's. From an education perspective, do you think that Zoom, a well-run Zoom meeting, it replaces a live in-person face-to-face meeting from a training perspective, or what's your position on that?
I could say that I am not a big fan of it. I think it does work, but I think if you're able to do an in-person, that's where you're going to capture everything, because it allows you to be with the people and build that relationship. If you're in a market where you can't, then obviously do Zoom. But just from watching my team members and how they participate on Zoom, they're not focused. You're not as focused as you are when you're live.
I agree with Emily. I think you can do a both and. Like, you could do an in-office and say, hey, I'll do 10 to 12 in the office, and then on Thursday of the same week, especially if you're really trying to build a reputation in that market center or that team or wherever it is you're trying to build, go all in and try it both ways and see what happens. And if you get 2 people on Zoom and one of them brings you a deal, you'll know it was worth that hour that you spent. So, but try it both ways, because different things work in different places for sure.
Awesome. Dave?
Yeah, clearly, Chris and Nick, you're exposed, guys. I thought you guys rocked it, but now I know why. Now I get it. All right, that's the deal. Now I'll tell you what's really cool to hear is high-powered, high-value relationships are based on just that. They're based on value and value added. And as I listened to both Emily's talk, you guys wouldn't be there if you didn't bring true value. And so they've forced you guys to up your game. I really did. Chris, as I listened, you talk about, a lead. I got leads. You got leads coming out your ears. Everybody does. But you got to stop. You got to get a plan. You got to think it through. You got to bring value. And so, man, I'll tell you what, rich relationships just kind of continue to grow and grow and grow. And it sounds, Emily, we like to think we bring value, but to hear you guys talk about it is so encouraging. So we appreciate, on behalf of AmeriFirst, we appreciate you guys. And you are dealing with two really good guys, and Chris and Nick, and we're proud of those guys. And we appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Doug?
Yeah. So both these Emily's, I've had the pleasure of not only meeting them in a business arrangement, but we've had dinners together and good times together, and they are just the best of the best. So I just want to thank both of you guys so much for participating and giving your time up for today. And and thank you for the absolute professionalism that both of you guys have, and the ability to share. That's what it's all about, the collaboration. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug.
Indeed it is. Yeah, we're 40 minutes past the hour. Thanks, and congratulations to both of you, Emily's, for all of your successes. And can't wait to hear the stories going forward. I'm sure we'd love to have you back on another time and catch up, and especially Emily Armstrong, and watch that new team grow. So congratulations to everybody. All right, thanks again. We will see everybody on the readiness briefing Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern. Until then, put a big smile on your face, as it breeds happiness, it breeds success and positivity. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.